Hey folks, it's Matt once again. Welcome back to another review. And this is of the 1997 film The Fifth Element, written by Luc Besson, screenplay by Luc Besson and Robert Mark Kamen, starring Bruce Willis, Gary Oldman, Ian Holm, Milla Jovovich, Chris Tucker, Tiny Lister Jr. Really enjoy this movie. I love this film to death. It's actually one of my favorite sci-fi films of all time. I remember I saw this in the theater back in 1997. Enjoyed this film ever since. And it has some good critical notices. It got 70-some% on Rotten Tomatoes, 7 point some I think 7.6 or such on IMDb. So I know I'm not alone in loving the movie. The reason I love the film is because I think it's such an imaginative, creative, great-looking, quirky-looking science fiction film that really made a world of its own, and it's a unique movie. It's not run-of-the-mill. There's not another film that quite is like The Fifth Element. It has a fun sense of humor to it, and is a fun sci-fi adventure flick. I really like the cast. Bruce Willis, I know people could say, well, he's just playing John McClane again, but he plays it well. And unfortunately, he plays it better. He plays it better here than the last 5 movies or such he's done. This is back when Bruce Willis at least gave a smidgen of shit in his performances. You could say, yeah, it's just John McClane again, but I still thought he was entertaining. This is still one of my favorite. My favorite Bruce Willis role is John McClane, and the early Die Hard films. My second favorite role of his is probably The Last Boy Scout. It is Joe Hallenbeck. And this is my third favorite role of his as Korben Dallas. And those are some of my favorite Bruce Willis films, this stuff I named. This is definitely one of my favorite Bruce Willis flicks. And the film only cost $90 million, which this sounds like a lot, but consider what other movies cost. I mean, I believe the Jurassic Park 2, which came out the same year, had the same budget. And this looks like it costs twice as much as The Lost World Jurassic Park 2. Yeah, the plot is simple, but I think it's effective. I'm fine with the plot. I know my friend Efrey doesn't like the beginning and ending of this film. I disagree, so we agree to disagree on that. I'm fine with the early part of the film, the first 10 or so minutes, which is in Egypt in 1914. Luke Perry has a small role. Doesn't last that long. It's pretty much to set up what's going on, that these aliens, which are mechanical in nature, and I love the look of it, have these spikes coming out of their backs. They are there because of these 4 stones, which they were put on Earth for safekeeping. They go, there's a war coming, so we gotta take these stones off. And some stuff happens. You get an idea that there's a priest that knows what's going on, and his descendant is Ian Holm, who knows this information, and about how hundreds of years from now these stones will need to be used, the 4 elements, water, fire, air, and earth, with the 5th element, to destroy this evil that's coming to Earth and will destroy the universe. So yeah, it's a simple plot, but I'm fine with it, because sometimes the simplest plots work well if you're building this fun adventure, this epic adventure. I mean, what's the plot of Star Wars? A boy, a girl, and a galaxy far, far away. Go after the bad guys, fuck with the bad guys, save the day. Fuck up the Death Star, save the day. Just because it's a simple plot doesn't mean it's a bad plot. And people are like, oh, I'm confused. What is there to be confused? This is a very straightforward movie. There's 4 stones. Then you get the stones. There's a 5th element. Put it in the middle. Boom. No more evil. Not that complicated. So I don't know why people were confused about it. But the budget is very well used. And I can't believe that the Oscars didn't... The only thing it nominated was like sound design. Not art direction. Which the art direction, this is fantastic. The costumes are unique. Nothing for costumes. The special effects didn't even get nominated. I think these special effects hold up today. It's a beautiful looking movie. But no, Jurassic Park 2 gets nominated. And of course, Titanic took all the awards. And I'll be honest, I like this film much more than Titanic. And this film only did like 60-some million in the US, but made a bunch of money worldwide. So if you look at the worldwide gross, it was a hit. If you just look at it in America, it didn't do well, because it cost 90 and only made 60. But I think it did make money because of the worldwide grosses. It's still my favorite Luc Besson film that he directed. I don't mind Leon the Professional, but I haven't seen that film forever. But it's still my favorite Luc Besson film. One of my favorite Bruce Willis movies. I just think it made such a great world. And I thought John McClane playing a New York cab driver is a perfect casting choice. And his bit reminded me of the Sedman and Heavy Metal, that anime movie. And I think even on the DVD, in a feature, they actually mentioned this movie. Because that DVD came out, what was it, 2000 something? I can't remember, with the documentary and stuff. And yeah, I think it was Harry was the guy, the character in Heavy Metal. He was like a future and a New York cab driver. And they did remind me of this film and Bruce Willis, his role. And granted, R-rated take, which I would admit be interesting, but I still do love the movie. And yeah, I will say the only problem I have is there's a few things that I think could have been, what's the word I'm looking for? They could have done more with. There's a certain phrase I was thinking of that it might come to me, but didn't give its full potential. Like little things, but I'll get to that. But overall, I love the look of the film. I love the usage of models as well as CG. It's a good blend, and I think it was done very well. I mean, for a $90 million budget, I've seen films that cost $150 million in today's age, and they don't look as good as this movie. And you know how a lot of people say, well, the effects in the 90s films suck? I disagree. I know one person, it's his opinion, he thought the effects in Spawn looked better than the effects in this. If that person's watching, we agree to disagree. Spawn, which came out about the same year as this, to me, Spawn is bad effects that don't hold up. To me, this is effects of that time that do hold up. But again, that's just my opinion. But everything from the look of the city of New York in the future, to the flying cars, to all the costumes and weird hairstyles, to, I thought the music was very interesting and unique. It wasn't typical. That's the thing with this movie. It's not a typical movie. It's an inventive, creative film, and look and design and sense of humor. And the music by Eric Serra I really enjoyed. And like I said, after that opening, it's 300 years later, there's this evil, was like, almost as if that planet and Revenge of the Sith with this, all the fire and shit on it, it's almost like that kind of planet. And there's this big ship firing at it, they can't do anything, and this fireball comes, and then the skull emerges and destroys, and then Korben Dallas wakes up. And even his apartment, he has this white cat that he calls Sweetie. It's the only person he has in his life, really. This machine that pops down 4 cigarettes. To quit is my goal. The fun sense of humor, natural. He's talking to a guy. Oh, hey, sweetie. Oh, thanks. I wasn't talking to you. I was talking to the cat. Oh, yeah, that's the only thing you can find. Ugh, I found a picture of you. How do I look like? Like shit. Oh, it must be an old picture. It is. Even when the cat's watching TV, Bruce was like, oh, don't watch all day, sweetie. It'll rot your brain. And I like that the kitty actually reacts to that. And it's like little things. Again, it has a fun, quirky, different, interesting vibe to the flick. Even to the fact that the guy holding him up, he had a hat. And when you look through the eye hole, the hat looks like the background. It's like, give me the cash! Give me the cash! It's like, well, it's a good thing you're not armed. What do you mean? Well, you see, you have to push that yellow button. And he does, and it shuts off the gun, and he pulls out a gun. And I just enjoy the music. Like, I'm doing a shitty job of it. But, like, he takes the gun, and like, that's a very dangerous looking gun. Let me take care of that. And even Bruce Willis can't have a straight face. He's like, that's a very nice hat. I mean, that's the cab driver straight out of Heavy Metal. I mean, that's such a fun stuff. And I think the effects worked. I mean, you have the robotic aliens coming back to bring the stones back, and then these other aliens, I forget exactly what they're called, but they're, I don't know how the hell you describe them. A teeny bit trollish, something that maybe you would see in more of a fantasy type of movie. Practical effects done on that, and the ships shooting. You can tell there's some usage of models and very well done models. Does those bad aliens fuck up the good aliens? And I just really like the cast. I mean, a future where Tiny Lister Jr. Zeus is the president. Brian James, may he rest in peace, as a military guy who later on you find out he knew Bruce Willis back in the day, because Bruce Willis is a cab driver but used to be special forces, and he comes by to try to hire Bruce Willis for this mission. But yeah, Zeus himself, Tiny Lister Jr. is the president, Brian James I really enjoy, Ian Holm as this priest who's trying to explain what's going on. They looked at the crash site, there's one survivor, like this little bit, and just little quirky stuff, even in decontamination. And they're sort of saying some, must be a really fucked up thing, or not fucked up thing, but this little thing to go, man, he might be pissed off, or might be angry. They say something to that effect, and then the guy looks, and because they're in decontamination, his eyes are all green. It's like, yeah, can't wait to meet him. I'm just certain images that I remember in my head that just kept the movie, just the production design. Or the fact that they could deconstruct from this little bit a whole body. And you have Milla Jovovich, who would go on to be in the Resident Evil films, one of her, probably, I would say her breakout role as Lilu. With the crazy hair, doesn't speak English, has those white straps pretty much as clothing, punches a hole, knocks out Brian James, just jumps through a wall. And when it goes outside, just the futurists in New York, flying cars everywhere, this flying train that going down the wall. It's like something out of Metropolis in a way, from back in the, way back in the 20s and such, which I actually enjoy Metropolis. One day down the road I'd like to review that, but that's what I mean. I like when they take a world, they make a new world with different types of aliens, architecture, costume design. The music is quirky but good and interesting. I think it has a very solid cast. It's just a fun world to look into. It's not typical. It's not run-of-the-mill. It's not, I mean, I say Metropolis, but not many. You have those movies. You have like Metropolis and you have like Blade Runner. I really do think I would put this film on that, only it's not as serious. It's a fun sense of humor. It's goofy, but it's goofy on purpose. It's like, hey, we're having fun, and I'm having fun watching it. That's why I'm entertained by it. And she even, she jumps off the buildings because some cops are there, falls right into Bruce Willis's cab, and you get some nice little bit of chemistry between the two. Bruce Willis, like the only thing he can understand is boom, yeah, I understand boom, yeah, bid bada boom. And the cops come by and she's asking for help. She reads something, please help, and he's like, oh, I can't, and ultimately does it. And then Bruce Willis, I wish he would go back to doing this stuff, or this kind of, I could tell he at least gives a shit somewhat. When I watch performances now, he's sleepwalking. People say, oh, he's doing the same thing. I don't think so. He seems like his heart isn't in it. When he says, when he's being a wise ass, there's like no sting to it. There's no meaning to it. Here, there's a little meaning to it. So when he goes, oh man, this is so stupid. Hey, lady, I only speak 2 languages, English and bad English. And you have this excellent car chase with flying cars, a flying cab driver and flying cop cars. And they get shot at by tons of cop cars. Incoming train, they get out of the way. He's like, you want to play soft? Well, we'll play soft. But hey, you want to play hard? Let's play hard. Just going through the traffic. And, yeah, little nod, I will admit, to McDonald's. But I'm like, okay, I thought it was a little fun moment. Kind of nice way to look at it. Oh, McDonald's in the future, women have to wear these sort of middies outfits with their middies more prosperous and showing. So I thought that was the joke of it. I got the joke of it. Um, Going through all the cars, getting through traffic, escaping, getting to Ian Holm. Um, Ian Holm, I thought he had a lot of fun. I haven't seen him play a character like this, which is usually he's very serious. I mean, he's Ash and Alien, or much more serious roles. So it's nice to have him. He's a great actor, and him having fun. He realizes she's the fifth element, and he faints. And it's some nice stuff back and forth between Bruce Willis and Milla Jovovich, where he kisses her, gun to his head. You're right, you're right. I shouldn't have done that. You know, you're right. Shouldn't have done that. Even when he gets out of there, he talks on the phone with the guy. You could tell that his character's in love, with this woman named Lilu. Gary Oldman, who I don't think he's a fan of this movie. I think he only did it because he had worked with Luc Besson on Leon the Professional. I think he had another movie that would help get made because of Luc Besson, so he decided to do this. Which is a shame, because this is one of my favorite characters he's played. That character there, because he's pretty much a sleazy car dealer. That's what he is. He's a sleazy car salesman. Only he sells weapons. He has that drawl in his voice, that combed over hair. And just has that drawl, is sleazy, would sell his mother to pay his bills type of way. And I thought he was fun. He has this crazy weapon. And that's one of the things that that crazy weapon that he has, it has, if it shoots at one, it can shoot everywhere and go back to that same spot, flamethrower, things like that. Would have been nice to see that in an action sequence, like maybe Bruce Willis gets a hold of that gun, or Bruce Willis dealing with Gary Oldman, and Gary Oldman has that gun. So that's a little bit of potential that could have happened, they didn't do. So that's like one little thing I can say that would have been nice, But he has these guns to this alien race that took down the good alien race. And they bring this case, but there's no stones in it, and they find out that the stones are actually hidden in another place with this diva on this sort of futuristic outer space cruise ship. But before that, I mean, I also like the editing in this film. How some things are edited, where it goes back to him, and then goes back to Milla Jovovich explaining her dialect, and like Ian Holm saying, "We're saved," and then it cuts to Gary Oldman saying, "I'm screwed." You see some of those edits even later on when, for example, the ship that Bruce Willis and Milla Jovovich get on to get to the cruise ship is getting ready to jettison, and then it cuts to this guy works with Gary Oldman, and that blows up, and then it cuts to the thrusters of the ship blowing up and going into the sky. Like, I like the editing. I think the editing is pretty damn good in this flick that no one really talks about. I like that the way it's edited. I thought don't see that very often. It's kind of unique, and at least for a quote a summer popcorn entertainment movie. So I thought it had some interesting editing choices as well. But Gary Oldman, he's fun. I mean, like when he gives these guns, he talks about how, they're nothing, but a killer, a guy in the will kill her. You know what he would have done? He would have looked at and asked about that red button under the bottom of a gun. And of course, the alien hits the button and blows up. He's just like smoking a cigarette. And like little fun stuff, like when Ian Holm visits Gary Oldman. Gary Oldman's, talks about how chaos adds to the great chain of life. Has some nice dialogue with that, but then he's choking on a cherry, And you have this weird, almost Rambo-looking anteater come out, and Ian Holm saves him, which is the right choice because he would have been dead anyway, and he's a priest. But I don't know, just little bits of that is interesting. And also little moments like when Bruce Willis is talking, getting this Thai food, and this guy says, "Oh, why don't you answer your letter?" And Bruce was like, "Yeah, I'm sure it'd be good news like the last two. First was my wife leaving me. Second was my lawyer saying he was leaving me with my wife." And the Thai guy goes, the guy selling the Thai food goes, "Hey, I bet your lunch. You are fired." And then Bruce was like, "Yeah, at least I bought lunch. Huh? I got free lunch, huh?" Like, there's fun bits of humor that is not overbearing, it's not fart dick jokes, or, "Oh, I gotta say shit, shit, shit." Believe me, I love cursing as much, but just because you curse doesn't mean it's funny. But there are some people that can use that and be funny, like Richard Pryor or old school Eddie Murphy. But, and Brian James comes by and says, "We've rigged it so you won Floss in Paradise sweepstake." And Brian James brings this big woman, and Bruce Willis just, "I am not going." And Brian James looks at her and is like, "Why not?" And just this fun sort of almost screwball comedy that you would see back in the day in the 50s or something. Like on the something you would see like a I Love Lucy Honeymooners TV show. But it made it more interesting where Bruce Willis looks out, there's Milla Jovovich, and he turns like, "Oh man, you can't be here. It's my new girlfriend, and she hates the military." And Brian's like, "Well, where can we go?" And just pushes them in the freezer and hides them there. It was nice to see Brian James before. It's too bad he passed away because he was a great actor. I loved him in The Horror Show and Blade Runner, so many other films. And it was nice seeing him having fun as well. That's why it seemed like the cast was having fun. And so it makes me smile. I just want to, like, and then Ian Holm and Milla Jovovich comes in, and then he's got to hide them, hides Ian Holm in this bed, and these cops come in. "Are you a human being?" "No, I am a meat popsicle." And then another guy gets fucked up. Then he gets Milla Jovovich out. He's like, "What's that noise?" And she's like, "Cornelius." And he doesn't realize, he forgets that he hit Ian Holm and he's suffocating, gets him out of there. It's weird, like Ian Holm hits Bruce Willis to get his tickets so he can go with her to get the stones. Every time in the scene, I always thought Bruce Willis fell funny. He always had a funny fall. Like when he got hit, a little bit overacted by Bruce Willis in that one scene. It's like he just sitting there, like, "Oh," almost as if someone shocked him or someone shoved a dildo up his ass. Like, "Oh." So I always thought that was kind of funny, but maybe it's meant to be funny. I don't know. But even little stuff like Ian Holm looking at getting at a bar, and then you find out that the bartender is this robot, and just going, "You want some more? You want some more?" I don't know, just can little stuff for creativity or little stuff that I'm not saying all the dialogue. I'm not going to go through every second of the movie, but the stuff that makes me chuckle, makes me smirk. Chris Tucker is Ruby Rod, who's this entertainer on the cruise ship. Some people will take him, some people can leave him. I've never. Some people hate Chris Tucker, and I don't blame them. I can understand. But I've always liked Chris Tucker. You know, I enjoy Money Talks. I enjoy the first two Rush Hour films. I love Friday. I always, uh, I always thought it sucked that he didn't do more roles after Rush Hour. Like all he would do is Rush Hour 2, then Rush Hour 3. Maybe he knew that people were getting sick of his shtick and that he couldn't do it all. But I would like to have seen more. But I've never minded him. But I can understand why people don't like him. I just never minded him. And so even little stuff like when they get on the ship and it's ready to go up, even these small guys who have not much of lines interested me. Like there's this guy in this Jamaican accent. It's like, we need some heat here, man. We need some heat here, man. And like they're flame throwing these little, I don't know what you call it, creatures off the hangar of the spaceship that's going to go up. All right, man, we got some heat here, man. And then take out this green, like radioactive symbol thing. Take that. I almost want to see a movie of these guys. I don't know why. Just something about them is I want to see what these guys do. Sort of take the movie Clerks or Mallrats, sort of guys about nothing, and just what's their story? I don't know why. Just always interested in those few characters. I love like the ship comes out. You see the whole place of New York, and it's one of those films that's not always a grungy, gritty, dark future. You know, it's also, hey, this is New York in the future. I love the way it looked. I love when it goes into space and it does sort of the hyperdrive thing and the colors they erupt. I just really, it was really nice to see on Blu-ray here as well. Now, I know there's one Blu-ray that sucks, and the Blu-ray that you need to get is the one that has the full HD 1080 on the back. And the features, it's only going to have a feature-length trivia track. That's why I'm going to keep my DVD. Although I still would love to see like a full-blown documentary with interviews from a lot of these guys, like today, because who knows if they're even proud of the film, but they should be. I mean, this does have its haters as well. Even if you read on Wikipedia, there's some critics saying it's one of the worst summer blockbusters ever, and I go, how is this one of the worst? I don't understand that at all. I guess it's just a sense of humor, quirkiness that you either goes with you or doesn't go with you. And it really intrigued me. And yeah, Bruce Willis dealing with Chris Tucker. You have this diva at the concert. Yeah, Milla Jovovich fighting these aliens. Gary Oldman gets there to Zord the fire on Milla Jovovich. And the stones, you find out she actually hid the stones inside herself. And he did some really fun action with Bruce Willis. So this was crowd pleasing. Just busting, shooting like 7 or 8 of them. This huge gunfire, jumping, leaping as explosions right behind Korben Dallas, slamming right into the bar. The bar gets blown up more and more as the aliens are firing rockets. Still have a few bits of humor, like the deaf guy. I think it's Ray going, "Hey Ray, you know, give me the gun, give me the gun." And because he's deaf, he doesn't realize he throws some pool cue balls. And Bruce was like, "Thanks, Ray." And more of it gets blown up. Has to come up, jumps on this plank, so one alien flips through, his head goes through, firing wildly. Bruce Willis gets a big machine gun. It gets one of those sticky bombs, throws it, gets him and Chris Tucker after shooting this thing around so Chris Tucker can get from second level to first level, going up, big explosion. Just a really crowd-pleasing sequence. Gets someplace, realizes that he knows, because again, he was special forces before, so he knows about these aliens, that they don't fight without a leader. You know, like he shoots, comes in, then the alien goes, "We want someone to negotiate." "Oh, we're sending someone to negotiate. Bruce Willis comes in. "Anyone else want to negotiate?" Just a great crowd please to see, like, yeah, that's pretty badass. And even Ian Holm has a funny reaction when he goes up to him, he's like, wow, just... It's nice to see this actor just having fun. It just is not often. And, yeah, this cover is not the best. I prefer the theatrical poster, which is just these 3. And 5 things streaming down into the 5th element. But It just seems cluttered, but or even the other one where it's just those three, and then this was at the bottom. But yeah, what can you do? One interesting thing, I know some people don't like it, and I can understand it, but I found it interesting is that your hero and your villain never meet. Bruce Willis and Gary Oldman never had one scene together. Now I understand not doing that in the norm, but once in a blue moon, I thought that's interesting. That's different, but I thought that's kind of unique because right when Gary Oldman leaves, Bruce Willis's company would come out. So it's like, wow, they never do meet. They never do have a scene together. I just found that interesting. And Gary Oldman, he gets killed. First off, some fun stuff where Chris Tucker sees that the bomb that Gary Oldman left. Hey, man, what's with these numbers there? And Ian Holmes like, it's a, no, it's not a bomb. See, it can't be a bomb because see, this place has bomb detectors, and of course they go off. And later on, Gary Oldman gets killed because of the people he fucked over at the beginning of the film. He fucked over the aliens, so now they're the ones that fucked him over. He gets fucked over because of his own, you know, because of what he did in the past. That's why it didn't bother me. I mean, yeah, I wouldn't not have minded if Gary Oldman got in a shootout with that crazy gun against Bruce Willis. I would have liked that. That's what I said. I wouldn't have minded that. That's one thing I could say against it. But do I mind this? No. Would I prefer that? Sure. But I liked the way it ended, where they get to Egypt. They have to figure out how to get these four elements working. They realize that you have to blow on the air for the air to come up. Because I like the visuals of being around this temple, and then when water, the blue light, and Earth was a yellow light for Earth, and I forget what was the color for air. Was it green or I can't remember exactly. But I like the colors, just the way visually it looked, and the way that Bruce Willis does save the day. Because Milla Jovovich is, what's the point of doing this? Look what you guys do with life. And he's like, well, there's also love too. And so, the power of love, just cue the song from Back to the Future, it's the power of love. But even like some bits of humor where, oh, how do we, start this fire, and there's a one match, and then you have some air that blows, oh shit, yeah, but create it. Bruce Willis kisses Milla Jovovich, which starts the chain reaction to stop evil. I don't know, just like the way it's edited. Bruce Willis holding Milla Jovovich and just that scream of Bruce Willis mix in with the light coming up, just burning the evil. So like Milla Jovovich is doing, but it's also Bruce Willis doing it. It's like, yeah, Bruce Willis kicked in ass. He did, he got killed, and granted, a year later, a Big Rock would have his revenge because a Big Rock pretty much killed Bruce Willis in Armageddon. Well, he killed himself, but because he was on it, he blew himself up. It's like he got his revenge. Like, oh, you kill me, Bruce Willis, I'll get you revenge a year later in Armageddon, motherfucker. But this is where Bruce Willis is like, oh, fuck you, Big Rock. So, and you get some fun bits of humor. Find out that Bruce Willis and Milla Jovovich are in a place together, making out. I know a friend of mine hates this song, but I actually like this song at the end. God, I forgot the lyrics of the song. I had it in the top of my head. Now I'm fucking looking it up. Does it give a shit? Yeah, it does. This is my review. I had it on there. I don't know why I'm looking at it. I do a shitty job of it anyway. But at least let me find out what the song's called. Little Light of Love. That's what it's called. And I liked the song. Again, I know not everyone's cup of tea, but I liked the song. I actually sat and watched the whole end credits, which a friend of mine said that what makes a good film if you can sit down and watch the end credits after a movie. And this was just a fun, entertaining, imaginative, creative movie that the costume designs, the creature work, the little bits they threw in there, the big scope of it. I thought this had a good scope to it. It created a new world. And the scope, they saved the universe. And this woman who's the supreme warrior, but she also needs the help of Bruce Willis. And so both are needed, and neither are useless. And yeah, Milla Jovovich kicking ass, but you also see Bruce Willis kicking ass. Gary Oldman, I thought he was a fun, slimy, with his almost like southern type of drawl, uh, car dealership type of bad guy. I liked the support roles by Ian Holm, and I thought Chris Tucker did fine. I like the musical score. I like the song at the end. I think the special effects still hold up. He's have some fun, exciting sequences like the flying car chase scene or the Bruce Willis kicking ass sequence. Showed a nice world, some good usage of miniatures models, but also I think some pretty well done CGI and a lot of imagination, creativity, which is what I do ask in a sci-fi movie. If you don't make this kind of film, why not have some imagination and creativity? It makes it unique. I don't think of 5 movies or 50 movies are like The Fifth Element. It has a great sense of humor as well, and it knows not to take itself supremely seriously or be dark or gritty when it doesn't need to be. It's like, hey, this is also a fun film too. And that's at the end of the day, that's what I asked for, is to be entertained, to have fun, and I enjoy the characters. Again, one of my favorite roles by Bruce Willis, Korben Dallas, and had a lot of fun with this movie. Always nice to sit down and watch this flick. I think, but even though it got some good notes, no one ever talks about this movie. That's another thing why I wanted to review it. No one ever talks about The Fifth Element anymore. I mean, think about it. When was the last time someone talked about The Fifth Element? I think my friend Mike OCB reviewed it maybe years ago. I'm sure maybe Oliver Harper or someone else reviewed it. But no one ever talks about this movie, which is a shame. It deserves talked about more, because I think it's a damn good film. And again, it's insane to me. This did not do well in the U.S. Think about it. 1997, it only made 60-some million on a $90 million budget. It got saved worldwide, but in the U.S. I mean, you had The Lost World Jurassic Part 2, which is, to me, a sequel that was kind of, and this is miles better, and this got beat out. Even when Oscar came, any nods for the special effects, or the costumes, or the art direction, or hell, even the editing, no, sound. I think sound effects editing or something like that. Oh, big fucking whoop. Give me a break. So, and like reading on Wikipedia, this seems like a film that polarizes people. People either love it or hate it. If you hate it, that's fine. I don't understand. To each their own. But I thought it's the classic tale of good versus evil, told in a very interesting, unique, quirky, fun, sense of humor way. That, there's not many movies like The Fifth Element, which I enjoy. And that's why I love the film a lot. So, that's my long review of The Fifth Element. But hey, it needed to be because I love the film to death. It's a favorite of mine. So, thanks for watching. Take care, and we'll see you later. Bye-bye.